By the time we hit 2028, 2029, 2030, we're going to be in a crisis because there's almost no new construction because all of the investors are gone for a variety of reasons, but one of them is the foreign buyers ban.
For sure.
We're having this trade war with the United States, our closest neighbor. The number of Americans want to come up here. I think we should
let them in.
Let them in.
I'll never understand
Politics.
As soon as somebody buys a house for $2.5 million, in come an army of people.
The construction industry contributes to the gross domestic product,
which is a huge economic stimulus.
But I like the Australian solution.
What do you mean by that?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Decanting Real Estate.
That's it.
I've lost track of how many podcasts we've done.
I think this is 9. Is that
9?
Is that right? Technicians and studio.
But for anyone that hasn't attended any of our podcasts before,
shame on them.
My name is Kapches, and I'm the CEO of Chestnut Park Real Estate. I'll let this gentleman introduce himself.
I'm Doug Gubitz, and I'm the president of Chestnut Park, and delighted to be back podcasting with Chris.
Yes, and a very unusual decanting podcast today.
Way out of our box here.
We've sort of focused in the past on particularly wines from Doug's wine cellar.
We tired of those.
But we did tire of them a little bit. But these they were both given to us.
Yes.
And so to some extent it's experimental. We have started the decanting process of both of these wines.
We thought this is a better way of doing it.
Yes, as opposed to opening them during the course of the podcast, and we'll talk about them. Doug has done a little research on the red wine,
which was a gift to us from producer. That's what I was.
The gentleman that's producing this podcast as we speak
from Lyon, and brought this bottle back from a caviste in the suburbs of Lyon.
You might tell folks what that is.
Caviste is a wine merchant, I guess. Essentially. That's right. Tout à fait.
Yeah, and the white was actually a wine that one of our agents brought to us from Prince Edward County, where we have had wines that we've decanted and talked about at previous podcasts.
And had great times with them.
But the grape varietal in this particular wine is new to us, and so it'll be interesting when we actually taste it.
Yeah.
But we also have two, I think, very poignant and topical subjects to discuss as they relate to real estate.
Tough topics.
Very much so. Do you want to get right into those subjects, and then after?
Why don't we introduce them? What we're going to be talking about? Then we'll have a little nose and a taste. And
that's a very good idea. The first thing we're going to talk about is the prevailing restrictions on foreign buyers in Canada, in Ontario, and believe it or not, in the city of Toronto, which is totally bizarre. But we'll get into that. And why Doug and I have concerns about that, and some potential solutions to that problem that I think would go far to ameliorating the problems that the construction industry is having now, and ameliorating the need for supply, because we are moving into a crisis situation as far as new construction supply is concerned. And even though it hasn't completely hit us now, it certainly will within the next 2 to 3 years.
That's a very good point.
And I think it's important that we talk about that. And then something that's also very topical is the issue of what constitutes a gift as opposed to a loan.
In what context?
Well, what's happening these days, and we're seeing more and more of it, parents are helping their children purchase properties because it is very hard, particularly in a place like Vancouver or a place like Toronto, to generate the 20% of the average sale price as your down payment, namely around $200,000. So they look to parents for help. Depending on how that $200,000 coming from the parents is characterized, it might be a gift or it might be a loan. And unfortunately, and I didn't do any research to determine what the failure rate of marriages
I think
relationship is, but it's relatively high.
Traditionally, I think it's in the 40 to 50% range.
That being the case, certainly parents run a risk that if they're giving money to their children and those relationships don't endure,
Bye-bye money.
bye-bye money. So I think it's very important we talk about that.
And the amount of parents who are in the position, particularly in Toronto and Vancouver.
And we'll point out what we believe is the basis for formalizing it as a loan as opposed to a gift, so that if the need arises that it has to be returned, there's a basis for doing it legally. And we have some cases that we can speak to in that regard.
Didn't we even raise at one of our office meetings the average amount of money that's being gifted or loaned to children to buy houses?
We have.
I think it's like $130,000.
It's
in
actually
Ontario.
higher in the GTA and particularly in
of course,
Toronto and Vancouver. It varies across the country, and obviously because of affordability across the country.
And what percentage of first-time buyers are actually receiving money from parents?
Because even though the average sale price has come down, we're still hovering around $1 million. So if you're not going to go high ratio, you need $200,000 as a deposit.
That's right. Oh, well, a little less now because it's 1.5.
Maybe a little bit,
yeah.
less,
They moved
but
that
ballpark in that range.
Yeah, and how do you raise that when you're working in a city like this?
Correct.
Where the cost of living is so high.
Correct.
How can you? Where in the world can young people save up $150,000 or $200,000? It's a near impossibility.
Near impossible. Particularly if they've gone to university and they have
Exactly.
university
Student loans. Yeah, exactly.
all that sort of stuff. Anyway,
Okay.
those are the topics. Little introduction on the wines, Doug.
So let's. Well, I'm gonna lean on you for the. You have a lot more knowledge about county wines.
I could speak about the vineyard, but I'm new to this particular grape varietal.
Got it.
Okay.
But the wine the red we're drinking, a gift from Lemmy, our producer, is from Beaujolais. And most people think Beaujolais is Nouveau Beaujolais, and it's a fun event at harvest time. But Beaujolais is a serious winemaking region. And where is it? Any idea? Roughly? Geographically? Get a guess.
South central part of France.
So it's 50 kilometers north of Lyon and 150 kilometers south of Beaune, which I know you've spent much time in.
I have spent some time.
Right. So it's in that region south of Burgundy. And they have 10 towns, I guess they're called. They call them creux. So regions, I guess. Ready for the names? They're good. Julianus, Chenasse, Moulin à Vendre. Moulin à Vendre?
It's very romantic.
Yes. Moulin à Vendre, you know what that is?
No.
Windmill.
If I had have thought of it, I would have.
Yeah. Morgan, Régny, Brouilly, Côte de Brouilly, Fleury,
You've done some research.
Saint-Amour, and Chirouble.
And is this where
This is Chirouble.
this particular Beaujolais is from?
That's correct. I'm going to read you the region in French. You ready?
Go ahead.
Surplombant la plaine de Beaujolais. C'est bon? Bon. L'appellation Chirouble est la plus haute de Beaujolais, à presque 400 mètres d'altitude. Son terroir exprime souvent des vins avec peu de tannines. It's perfect for you.
Yes.
Fruité et léger à apprécier dans leur première année. Perfect. This is a
And
2022.
Beaujolais should be consumed as a young wine.
Although they are considered serious wines.
Really?
I have some Norwegian.
Yeah, you should translate that.
Oh. Surplombant.
Okay, come.
Overlooking la plaine de Bordeaux, the Beaujolais, the plain. It's the highest of the cru in Beaujolais at about 1,450 feet above sea level. The wines have very little tannin. They are fruity and light and appreciated best in their early years.
Right.
That's it.
I thought you said the première année.
Dans leur première année, in their first years.
Right.
Early, in their first years.
Got it.
Alors.
Let's.
Wait, you know I'm always checking. You got 13.5% alcohol.
And I'm going to say cheers to
Yeah,
our.
merci beaucoup, Monsieur Lamy.
Great nose.
Great nose. Wowee. Gently fruity. Rather sweet fruit, I think.
I could have been fooled if I were told that it was a Pinot Noir. I might have been fooled.
Well, we looked it up earlier, both of us. This is Gamay grape.
In the finish, you really get the jamminess.
Not a lot, though.
No, not a lot, but you get the jamminess of the Gamay.
I don't know what Gamay tastes like on its own, other than this. It's light on its feet, yet it has a density and richness that gives it some structure. It's totally delicious wine.
Sitting somewhere,
Bien choisi, monsieur. Très bien choisi.
sitting somewhere on a seashore in a cafe.
Eating moule frites.
Oh, this would be.
This is lovely.
Absolutely lovely.
I think Christian is nodding his head that this is a delightful wine.
Yes.
Easy drinking, but has a respectable amount of complexity. So you know you're drinking a really well-made red wine. I can't tell you whether it's high or low, but it's grown at a very high altitude at 1,400 feet. That's right up there.
It's fantastic.
I'm very, very impressed.
Yeah, very impressed. Very impressed.
Excellent wine.
I think we'll take that one home.
I think I'll take that one home.
Okay, I'm going to get to some business.
What about this white? Later?
We're going to save the white. Okay?
Okay, yeah. Business. Do it.
For those of you who aren't aware of this, we have 3, I will call them, foreign buyer restrictions as they impact us in the area in which Chestnut Park works and other brokerages work in the GTA. First one is we have a foreign buyer's prohibition.
Across the whole country.
Across the entire country, which obviously includes Ontario as well. Secondly, in Ontario, we have a foreign buyer's tax. So assuming that you can buy, because the foreign buyer's prohibition also has some exceptions. And I don't think it's relevant that we need to.
Well, there's one that's important.
One, yes. Which one is that?
Well, that's the density, where you can buy. In dense areas, a foreigner cannot buy.
Correct.
In less populated areas, the foreign buyer prohibition does not
So
apply.
technically, a foreign buyer could buy recreational property for the most part.
That's right.
However, he's got to pay a 25% tax in Ontario. 25% of the value
Of the purchase price.
Of the purchase price.
Yeah. It's a huge
So
number.
it can be huge. So I mean, you could do the math. If you were to buy a $1 million property, you're paying $250,000 in tax.
In after-tax money.
In after-tax money.
It's crazy.
And then, as hard as it is to believe, with all of that, in the city of Toronto, there is a 10% tax on top of that.
For those who are exempt, and there are very few exemptions.
Correct.
So if Toronto's a dense community, so you're prohibited under the federal prohibition.
Correct.
There are a few minor exceptions, and Toronto's trying to pick up their 10 points on that. But there's a story behind that, as you recall.
I know, but they profess that it's to help with affordability
Of course they would. What else are they going to say?
because they're politicians.
Precisely. And it's going to generate zero revenue.
Of course.
The foreign buyer tax, the vacant home tax in Toronto only generates something in the range of $59 million a year. This was probably near zero.
For sure.
But it wasn't intended for that.
But it's the message that it sends. It's the message that
It was
sends.
opportunistic, though. Do you
Very
remember?
opportunistic, as almost every
But do you
one of
remember
the
why
taxes.
it was? How it happened that Toronto announced this? So the foreign buyer ban initially that you're talking about federally was a 2-year ban for all of 2023 and 2024.
Correct.
So in the fall of 2024, we were only a couple months away from
Before it being terminated or expiring.
Right. So that would have permitted lots of foreigners to jump in, foreigners meaning non-Canadians and non-permanent residents of Canada, to jump into the Toronto market again.
Assuming they were going to pay 25% tax anyways?
Yeah, that's a good point. But anyhow, let me carry on. So the city of Toronto at the time decided, wow, the federal government is going to lift the foreign buyer ban. Here's our chance to grab some tax money. So they announced it, I think, in October or November of 2024. And within about 10 days, the federal government announced that they're extending the foreign buyer ban
Correct.
for 2 more years,
Correct.
which essentially usurped the Toronto 10% tax. They should have just eliminated it at that point. Of course, they didn't. They left it on the books, and it still exists.
There's many reasons why I think we should, if not eliminate all these foreign buyer restrictions, at least modify them. But separate and apart from kind of the political issues, which I think we can avoid today, the most important component of all of these restrictions is the impact that it's had on the new construction business.
Which it just literally crushed.
Killed it.
Yeah.
Killed it. And we're headed for a crisis. As sure as we're having this podcast today, you can remember this, that by the time we hit 2028, 2029, 2030, we're going to be in a crisis because there's almost no new construction, certainly multiple unit construction going on as we speak. Particularly from a home ownership standpoint and even an investor standpoint, because all of the investors are gone. They're gone for a variety of reasons, but one of them is the foreign buyers ban.
For sure.
And just recently, and this is what prompted this component of the podcast, is that in BC, the building industry got together and sent an open letter both to the British Columbian government as well as the federal government and said, hey, we got a crisis here. If you guys don't do something about it as far as these foreign restrictions are concerned, this crisis is going to become existential as we move towards the end of this decade.
But this BUILD organization, which is a lobbyist group, I think, or
the building
industry group, has been campaigning in all of our newspapers now for well over a year to come to the assistance on many levels to the building industry, because it's just a tragedy right now. And you're right, in 3 or 4 years, this is going to really show its face. We don't seem so plussed by it now, but oh boy.
Well, we don't,
you
because
wait.
a lot of the projects that were started 4, 5, 6 years ago
Are coming on stream
have come
now.
to fruition,
Yeah.
and they're coming on stream. In fact, that's why we're seeing
So much inventory.
Yeah, but that's going to stop, and it's going to stop gradually
Yeah.
over the next 3 or 4 years, and that's when we're going to feel it. The industry is also asking for help on the development charges side, taxes, zoning, a bunch of different things.
All of which are needed.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not one fix, as you and I have discussed so many times.
And I know you have a criticism or
A concern. It's not
concern.
really. Yeah. Well, I mean, if I'm, of course, you and I are both advocates of lifting this foreign buyer ban or modifying it considerably to reinvigorate development. We're both ad idem on that. My concern, though, is we haven't done enough structurally, governmentally, legislatively, to change meaningfully what will be built. Should we allow this?
But
That's
we had a
problem.
previous podcast on this.
Well, yes and no.
And
We were
you
talking about what
spoke
was
about it for
that.
the longest amount
Well,
of
we
time.
talked about what is built. But we're also concerned that there aren't going to be enough household-style units to house families. It's not going to likely change. But to your point, if it's incremental, if these small shoebox units move from 500 feet to 600 or 700, that would be a meaningful change.
Agreed.
And hopefully that comes from this. But we need that.
We need it, 100%.
We definitely need
100%.
that. Yeah.
The other thing, and this is more, I was going to say anecdotal, which isn't entirely correct, but we're having this trade war with the United States,
Yes.
our closest neighbor, and evidence is beginning to emerge that a number of Americans want to come up here. I think we should
Let them in.
let them in, let them buy.
They can come now and rent, but that's
But so what's the solution then?
well, it should never have been a complete across-the-board ban. If we're looking to increase supply for the domestic market, if foreigners are coming in and investing in all our real estate, purchasing all the supply, such to a point that the domestic buyers can't buy anything, and prices, of course, are going up when people are speculating, foreigners are speculating on real estate. Okay, so the ban should have been capped at a certain price point, because it's not like it's going to affect supply if a foreigner can buy a $2 million house.
Correct.
So why was it across the board to begin with? I'll never understand.
Politics.
Yeah, but not good politics.
Not good politics. Optics.
And where are the optics
Political
on that?
optics.
Right. I mean, when you prevent or you slow down the trading volume of houses, expensive properties from let's say, to $5 million, you're also slowing down the uptake of all the services that those houses consume.
100%.
Which is a huge economic stimulus, right? From the plumbers, the electricians,
100%.
the drywallers, everybody. Soon as somebody buys a house for $2.5 million, in come an army of people.
The construction industry contributes to the gross domestic product in ways that I don't think the average individual is fully cognizant of.
Nor is the average politician. Which is the.
But I like the Australian solution.
Let's talk about that.
I like the Australian solution.
Okay, so
because they have a foreign buyer restriction in Australia as well.
Is this new, or it has been in place for a while?
It's new. It's new. It started in April of 2024. 2-year term. I suspect it'll be renewed because they were having the same issues, affordability, and blaming the affordability on a lot of foreign buyers. They have a different type of foreign buyer coming in from the east, Chinese, Indonesian.
Well, not Indonesian, but we have mainland China is a very big part of our investment market.
Oh yeah, for sure. But what they did, which I think is genius on their part, is they said, we don't want foreign buyers coming in here and taking away supply or making that supply more expensive for domestic Australians.
Yeah.
So we'll let them come in if they buy new construction. We'll let them come in if they buy new construction. And if it were me, I would also add that if it's at a certain price point, we're happy for you to come in and buy above that certain price point. Because first of all, there's not a lot of supply there, and it isn't like you're going to be unsettling the domestic marketplace.
Exempting new construction is rather brilliant.
100%.
And think, we're the new construction of bricks and mortar on the ground in Ontario, the sales of those houses have ground down to almost nothing.
Correct.
Almost nothing. And if we're not supporting subdivision building and the purchase and sale of those houses, then we're making a terrible mistake.
And
it's such a very good idea, the Australians.
They exempt New Zealanders, as we should be exempting the Americans.
Because the Americans were never part of the problem.
Correct.
If you're talking about eating up supply in the big markets in Canada,
wasn't the Americans.
They probably weren't even on the radar.
Now, even for political reasons, I would exempt the Americans.
I wonder if there's any impetus to do this, if there's any talk about this in Canada.
Haven't heard a word. Now, we'll see what happens with the building industry in British Columbia and their efforts to create change. Time will tell.
But this is lobbying more than anything.
Time will tell.
Yeah, this is not.
But I think our viewers should be aware of this because it is a crucial point. And even though we're not feeling it as an existential threat today to the housing supply, as I said earlier, in a few years, it's going to become that.
I'm not so sure we're not feeling it, actually, because you and I both are dealing with.
But we're in industry, Doug.
I know, but think about how many times you and I are asked by one of our agents in Toronto, and well, not even Toronto, all across the province. I have a situation here. Is this person able to buy?
Correct.
These are questions that come to me very often, and that's very concerning. So these aren't little isolated people that are being exempted from our marketplace. This is a considerable group of people who are being exempted. And even in our brokerage, we're feeling it.
I think all industries associated with real estate development are feeling it. And I think we should all be lobbying, hopefully to open the eyes of the politicians to this problem.
It's time to drop all of these things. There's no sense to it. And it didn't work.
Of course.
That's the big problem. And you know what?
You know what? I don't want to get too excited on this because we have another subject.
Well, you can get excited and get reinvigorated on the next topic.
Also, the number of foreign buyers was minuscule.
To begin with. Although you could argue in big condo projects in Toronto.
I wouldn't argue that. I agree. In Toronto, Vancouver in particular, those big condo projects were predominantly investors. But they needed investors' money to get them going. I don't know, again, whether our viewers are aware of this, but you need up to 70% commitment to the project.
Yeah, pre-sales.
Pre-sales. in order to get your financing to go ahead. You're not going to get it from the guy on the street.
Well, you're in a 400 unit building.
Correct.
280 units that are 500 or 600 square feet. There aren't enough buyers in Toronto in any case, particularly in a higher interest rate environment.
Correct.
Well,
difficult subject. How's this doing?
This is really very nice. Like really, really nice. I might even actually now go explore these other villages I think the LCBO gets quite a bit of Beaujolais. I never look at it, but it's worthy. It's a really lovely alternative to heavy structured wines.
Agreed.
Like very lovely alternative. The problem is you could drink a bottle of this in about
8
an
minutes.
hour. Yeah, it's pretty easy going, I would say. This isn't exactly a challenge to drink. It's highly
amazing.
Enjoyable.
It's amazing.
All right, let's move on to this white here before you get into the next topic. This thing is winking at me, and
I haven't tasted
Well,
this.
let's just get into
Let's
this.
see what happens. Well, what are you getting in the nose, Doug?
We talked about this earlier. We didn't try them. We just smelled them, and it's just about 100% pineapple in my estimation. Someone mentioned kumquat in the audience. Kumquat. I don't know what a kumquat smells like. For that matter, I don't even know what it looks like, if the truth be known.
It's a little thing like this.
Okay, but I've never seen one. I certainly have never eaten one, unless someone didn't tell me what I want.
You probably haven't. You aren't even aware of it.
What color is it?
They're usually about the color of this.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, with the little variation.
Speckles?
Not speckled. More like variegated.
Variegated?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, well then I've definitely never
Okay, now
eaten
tell me
one.
what you think. I want you to go first.
The smell?
Taste.
I'm nervous. Well, first of all, it's very viscous on the palate. From a mouthfeel perspective, it's almost oily. A mouthfeel in a white is a big deal to me because you're looking for crispness usually and kind of a lightness on the palate, but this is thick, oily kind of feel.
Cloying almost.
A little bit after a while, but not initially. I expected it to be a much bigger tasting wine, given how intense the nose is. I'm not finding that at all.
Do you know the interesting thing is the taste and the nose are very similar, which is unusual for wines. Taste and nose often vary.
Right. Okay. I have to think about that. What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean is sometimes you'll nose the wine,
Yeah.
and you'll get various smells, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily taste those.
Okay. In other words, they're not lining up.
Correct. But this is lining up. This tastes like I'm eating pineapple.
Really, I don't get that at all. Christian? Oak. I'm not good at picking up oak. You find this an oaky wine? Maybe. If you think this is an oaky wine, I'm with you. Now I understand what oaky wines taste like. It's a curious wine. I'm actually not I'm a little bit enjoying it actually.
I'm glad you are. You're obviously in a good mood. You love the Beaujolais, and now this wine called
I'm actually
Frontenac.
very. Well, that's a grape varietal.
It's a grape varietal.
Frontenac is the grape varietal.
Yeah.
I
I had to Google it. You know that.
Yeah, no. I think our agent told us about it. It's an experimental thing for this.
It was developed
producer.
in Minnesota.
What?
It was developed in Minnesota.
Imported to Ontario.
Yeah.
So it's a clone. It's a hybrid kind of thing for probably this kind of climate. That's the idea.
The finish lasts forever.
I was just about to say, it's going on now for a minute.
Oh my God, the finish lasts forever. Mm-hmm. And if you're not 100% in favor of the wine, that's a problem.
Point well taken. It's hard to argue that one. I'm going to take one more sip, and then you're going to jump into your next topic. Well, it's like pineapple.
Yeah.
You want to taste it for as long as you can, if you like it.
I'm going to give it one more chance.
It's something that you are completely not used to. The style,
It's
the style of
yes,
wine
yes.
is inconsistent with the style that you like. like a leaner, crisper, drier Chardonnay kind of Chablis-esque wine. This is the complete opposite end of that spectrum. I can understand why you're struggling with it. I'm not as big a white wine drinker, so I'm finding interesting nuances in this wine and trying to be very open-minded about it. And I think a lot of people would find this quite pleasant and enjoyable, particularly if you're dealing a lot with heavier oaked Chardonnays from the New World. People would find this interesting. You don't drink those wines.
Okay. I think I'll leave it at that.
I will as well.
Yeah.
Okay, next topic.
Gifts and loans.
Yeah.
Why did this topic come up?
I think you found a case on it and we're intrigued by it.
No, before the case. The concern was that parents are helping their children to purchase properties, particularly in Vancouver and Toronto, because of the affordability issues that are being experienced in both cities. However, it was the way they're doing it.
Oh, I thought you meant why did it come up right now?
No,
you're talking about more generally.
More generally,
why is it? Yeah,
it's the way in which they're doing it. It came to our attention that people are using an instrument called a reverse mortgage.
Of course.
To finance the ability to help their children. And for those of you that are not aware of what a reverse mortgage is, that people over a certain age, 55, I believe,
it is.
They can use the equity in their house, take it out.
Up to 55% of it.
Up to 55% of it. They don't even need to use all of that, but they can take it out. And we could do a podcast just on reverse mortgages.
Yeah.
That's not.
It's a highly controversial.
Yeah, it's not the thrust of this today. But if you own a house, if you have equity in it, you can do a reverse mortgage that allows you to take equity out and to give that equity to your children.
And you don't have to pay monthly.
Not until someone is deceased or they sell the house, and I think there's some other. And again, we're not going to get into those details, but the point is you can do it.
So that's what it was, an article that you had read.
Correct.
About parents using reverse mortgaging their properties in order to get some liquidity, some equity, to give to their kids to buy a house.
Correct. But we're not looking at it from that perspective, but that's what prompted this. Yeah. What we're looking at is, okay, you've given the money to your children.
How have you done that?
How have you done that? Have you done it in such a way that you could get it back? Or have you just given it to them as a gift and then don't worry about it in the future? The problem is, and we alluded to it at the beginning of the podcast, is vast majority of relationships, unfortunately, don't endure forever.
And probably a considerable majority of these disbursements to children are not really done carefully or mindfully. It only becomes a problem after, when there's a dissolution of the marriage. And now you've got to figure out the nature or the character, how you can characterize that money.
Correct. And people do it ex post facto.
That's the problem. They don't get ahead of it because it's joyous times.
Correct.
And they want to give some money to their kids, get them launched, get a house going for the young couple.
Perfectly said.
They don't think about it until they have to think about it.
Correct.
And when they have to think about it, it's a crisis.
Right. And it might be too late.
And
because, of course, there's equalization, which is another subject that we could cover at some point in time.
Right.
But if it's a loan, then the parents have the ability to force repayment. And if it's a gift, they don't.
Right. So those are the really only two ways they can be characterized.
I may be the father of the bride.
And I might be the father of the
Well, let's just say
groom?
It's just me.
Groom.
Let's just say it's just me. Okay? Just me.
Okay.
And I'm very magnanimous, and I want to...
which you are generally.
And I want to benefit my my daughter and her husband.
Yeah.
Okay? I give them money.
Yes.
Their marriage breaks up.
What do you mean you give them money? That's part of the problem.
Well, okay, their marriage breaks up.
Yeah.
I would, if the marriage breaks up,
I want your money back.
I want the money back.
Of course.
I might not be that upset about my daughter keeping the money, but I don't want my son-in-law to get half of it.
Right.
And unfortunately,
in an equalization.
Yeah, based on the equalization legislation that we have, the matrimonial legislation, you would be entitled to half of it if it were a gift.
But if it's a loan...
If it's a loan, I can call it back.
How do you tell which is which?
I believe it or not, there was a Court of Appeal case And it set out 7 indices.
Love that word, indices.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
That constitute the basis for a loan as opposed to a gift. And I'm going to ask Doug actually to comment on this because he brought this to my attention. On whom is the onus?
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you just raised that because it's a good lead into what you're going to say.
On whom is the onus to prove to the court that it is either a gift or a loan?
Where a party transfers money to another for no consideration, meaning just gives it, not gives, just transfers it is a better word.
Transfer is a better word.
The onus generally shifts to the recipient.
Right.
To prove that the funds were a gift, meaning there's a presumption that if I transfer money to you and you're my son, there's a presumed resulting trust.
Correct.
In my favor. So it's not presumed to be a gift. It's presumed to be a trust or a loan. And if you want to prove that it's a gift, the onus is on you as the recipient, which is a very big piece of this.
It is a big piece of it. But if when you transferred the funds, you followed these 7 indices, then there'd be no issue. And from my perspective, I mean, if you're magnanimous, you have tons of money and you're not concerned about the ultimate unfolding of the relationship, then this is not a concern. But that usually isn't the case, and particularly if people are using a reverse mortgage in order to get funds.
That can be huge because they need that money to
They
retire.
need that money.
That's
exactly.
That's the whole purpose of a reverse mortgage.
So here's the indices. At the time,
remember who has to put these out? It's the person who's trying to get his money back as
the person who's trying to get the money back
as a loan.
Correct. So first one is, are there contemporaneous documents evidencing a loan? So I give them money, but I also make them sign a promissory note.
Promissory note is a good one.
Yeah. Or I register a mortgage against the property.
Right.
Neither one of those are sufficient, though.
Need a couple more indices.
You need more.
There's never enough indices. I've always said that.
Is there a specification in these documents for repayment?
Like terms of repayment?
Yeah.
Or just that you have to repay it?
Terms.
Okay.
Or do you have to repay it? It could be that it could be on demand. It could be a promissory note on demand.
Right.
So I give you a promissory note. You don't have to make monthly payments.
When I won't call for it, you got to give it back.
But I call for it, you got to give it back.
Or at a fixed date.
Correct. Is there security for the loan? We just mentioned 2.
A mortgage.
A mortgage, or even a promissory note. At least you have some contractual basis for calling it back.
Some consideration.
4th indice. And I find this interesting. Were there advances to one child and not others? Or advances of unequal amounts to various children?
That's a poser of a question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how that came up. So
Well,
if I give unequal amounts, does that mean it's a loan?
I think that's exactly what it means.
Yeah, because otherwise it'd be gifting equally to all of my children.
Correct.
So it's on an as-needed basis.
Correct.
You need $100,000.
You're buying $1 million house. He's buying an $800,000 house. So clearly,
right. This is the Court of Appeal?
This is Court of Appeal. Have you ever made a demand for repayment?
That's a tough one if it was a gift. That indices alone will not carry weight. Yeah. Need to have all of these, right? Or most of them?
Most of them. You don't need to have all of them.
Okay.
Has there ever been any partial repayment?
That would definitely be characterized as a loan. If you've been repaying it, then why would if you're repaying?
And then to kind of qualify that last indice, was there expectation or likelihood of repayment?
Good tests.
These are the tests.
But they go both ways.
Of course they do.
We have 2 cases here.
We'll talk about one of those cases.
One went as a gift.
If I were sitting as a judge on one of those cases, I would have ruled in the opposite.
Yes, but the problem when you're reading these kind of cases, you're not really there. You're not able to really judge the facts and the evidence. And as our colleague Anthony Chirasso says, it all comes down to the facts and how the judge is looking at the facts. And so what you would have otherwise thought legally met the indices goes the other way.
I don't believe that.
Oh, come on. For sure.
If I met all these indices, what are you talking about?
Oh, no, those indices, yes. But there are many cases where it would turn not having all of those indices.
That's the problem when you don't have them all. That's why the Court of Appeal said, listen, if you have all these indices, you're not going to have a problem determining that it's a loan as opposed to a gift. Mm-hmm. If you don't, then the court, has to kind of filter through all the evidence.
And these cases were very evidence-based, both of these.
100%.
So I can't even, it would take a while for us to go through this whole scenario.
I turned that off. I apologize.
So I think it's enough to say that both of these cases surprised us. One was a father giving $500,000 and moving into the house with his kids. And another one was a very nasty breakup. Yeah. So these are tricky matters, but I think the best takeout is at least we have some structure to, you know, and the best takeaway I meant to say is you should be putting your minds to these things before you transfer the funds.
Correct, and that's the point of the podcast.
And that's what we try to get across to people.
That's the point of the podcast.
Get ahead of this. Don't just give them a check at during the wedding and then say, boom.
You made a very good point a little while ago. Usually when this happens, you're in a joyful state. Mm-hmm. It's usually a coming together of a wonderful union.
Yes.
You're proud as a parent to be part of it. And, you know, we've had cases where both sides have given money.
That's actually a better scenario in that even if it goes the wrong way for you, at least your party is whole.
Correct. Unless they're unequal.
Yeah, but assuming everything else is level, if the son
got give more than you.
You don't know that for sure. I'm very magnanimous.
You are actually.
Yeah, thanks. We use the example at one of our office meetings. If the parents of the bride gave $200,000 and the parents of the groom gave $200,000, didn't talk about whether it was a gift or a loan, and then there's a breakup, each party, given everything else being level, is whole. The parents don't get their money back.
Just about to say,
but at least the kids get their money and don't have to split it.
Except the parents.
But the kids
if you took a reverse
mortgage, you're in serious trouble.
You're in serious trouble. I think that's
a
word to the wise. Yeah. Those indices, try and address your minds to them if you're giving a loan.
Particularly if you're funding this with a reverse mortgage.
Particularly if you're funding it with a reverse mortgage. At the time, if it's a gift and you don't care about the consequences, that's fine. But if you're concerned longer term, and most people generally are, think about these. Yeah, paperwork, repayment, the various indices that we talked about.
We took or you did particularly, and then we all jumped in a deep dive on this because we thought, wow, is this trend now moving to people taking out reverse mortgages to fund their kids' houses?
Frightening.
That is so scary.
The parents may need it.
Well, in theory, they do. I mean, there's now $9 billion worth of reverse mortgages in Canada.
Correct.
That industry is really stepping up, and people are looking much more to reverse mortgages than ever before.
Why it concerned me, Doug, is that if you're taking out a reverse mortgage to do this, it probably means you don't have a lot of excess funds.
Well, I would argue you have none.
So, word to the wise.
And you know, if a reverse mortgage is ever a product that is going to be
just for our audience, we're not knocking reverse mortgages. No. They serve a very good purpose and goal, but we're talking about this in this very specific context.
Right. I think I don't want to say we're proponents of reverse mortgages. That's not something we should be opining on. But I think we can agree that if you're going to take advantage of a reverse mortgage. It should be to benefit yourself mostly, and to probably fund your retirement.
Correct.
And allowing you to stay in your existing home.
Correct.
That's part of the agenda and the draw and the appeal of a reverse mortgage, which in my estimation is easily eliminated if you're giving that money to somebody else.
Correct.
That's the sad piece. Let's wrap this up with another taste of this little
Wow.
lovely wine that we're blessed with by our friend Lemmy.
And it's getting better as the afternoon goes on.
Which you wouldn't have thought it would have needed much decanting, but having sat in the glass and settled down, lovely.
Lovely. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, see
We
you.
look forward
see you
to the
next
next
time.
podcast.
Yep.
See you soon.
Keep well.